Norfolk and Nottinghamshire classes, welcome to your first English lesson for this week. We are continuing to write with the book Varjak, Paw in Mind, and this week we're going to be writing a short retelling. We're going to do this so that we can entertain our reader. This is our first lesson of 5 lessons. Okay. So I want you to check that you've got a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper or your home learning book to do some writing in. Go and get those things together, then press play to continue the lesson. Press pause now. Okay, so this week we're going to be building up to writing a retelling from Varjak Paw. We're going to write an action-packed retelling. We're going to make sure it's really exciting so that we can engage our reader. So our retelling is going to be based on the book Varjak Paw, chapters 4 and 5, the part where Varjak escapes the house and goes into the garden, and then when he climbs the wall and reaches the top of the outside. That's the part we're going to retell. We're going to build up our ideas and we're going to do our extended piece on Wednesday. Okay, so we've got lots of knowledge to start off with on today's lesson, things that we know already. So the purpose of a narrative is to entertain, is to gain and hold a reader's interest and attention, is to keep the reader really interested. And there are lots of types of narratives. We've got fairy tales, so Little Red Riding Hood and Jack and the Beanstalk. We have mysteries. We could have science fiction, adventure stories, fables, myths and legends, and historical narratives, just to name some of the type of narratives that there are. We've looked a lot at myths and legends from Greek mythology, and we've also looked at school in the past at fairy tales. Today, I want us to really think about adventure stories because Varjak Paw is an adventure story, and we're going to make sure that our narratives are really adventurous and exciting too. Okay, so what feature is in red in my writing this week? I'm going to read my writing to you. This is the beginning of my adventure narrative retelling, and this is how I'm going to start my beginning. But there's a feature that I've got in red, and I want you to try and work out what this feature is and what it's doing to my writing. Okay, I'm going to read. I want you to follow along. As Varjak Paw slid silently out of the Contessa's house, he looked around at the garden he had so longed to visit. Although young and naive, this plucky cat was brave and possessed a heart which contained the courage of 7 lions. His yellow eyes shone excitedly while he drank in the cool night air. His groomed black fur prickled, and his heart thumped when he thought about the adventures he could now have. The garden was a dark, gloomy place full of gnarled old trees. It was hard to see the sky through them because they had grown inwards and locked together. Beyond the trees lay the stone wall that enclosed the Contessa's house and garden. No one in the family had ever tried to climb it since it was so vast and sheer, even Varjak, who was always climbing the curtains at home. Okay, so this is the beginning of my story, my narrative, and just like at the beginning of most narratives, I've introduced and described the character, and I've introduced and described the setting, but I've also done something else. And I've also used a feature, and I've identified this feature in red. And I want you to have a think about what this feature is and what it is doing to my writing. I want you to read through and then press play and continue once you have tried to identify the feature in red. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so now you're back, and I'm wondering if anybody has worked out what this feature is. Okay, you should have told me that this feature was a conjunction. It was joining sentences, but this one is actually subordinating conjunctions. So we've looked at conjunctions, and today we're going to be looking at subordinating conjunctions. And we're going to be using this in our narrative writing. And below there, I've got a bit of a clue as what subordinating conjunctions do, because I've got our colourful semantic symbols of when, where, and why. Okay, we're going to keep thinking and building up our knowledge. So, prior knowledge, we looked at last week conjunctions. And we learned that conjunctions are words that can be used to join two sentences. That is what a conjunction is. And here are some examples of lots of different conjunctions that we use regularly in our writing, and we read them regularly in the books that we read too. So, conjunctions. So here are two sentences. Saha ate an ice cream. She read a book. That is two separate sentences. But sometimes if we want to make our writing flow and be less repetitive, we might want to join these two sentences together with a conjunction. And a conjunction that could join these two sentences together would be and. Saha ate an ice cream and she read a book. And that makes it flow when we're reading it. So the conjunction is a word or words used to connect two clauses together. Words such as although, because, or when. Now, we've learned about that already. So what is a subordinating conjunction? How is it different? Well, subordinating conjunctions are words or words that are used to join a subordinating clause to another clause or sentence. Now, that's quite tricky to understand, but what it means is that these two sentences or two clauses that I've joined together, one of them is dependent on the other. It needs the other one to make sense. For example, Yasser was excited. Great. Because it was his birthday. It was his birthday. Okay, but that doesn't really tell us. It's not really a sentence on its own. It needs Yasser was excited to make sense. Yasser was excited because it was his birthday. It was his birthday is dependent on Yasser was excited to make sense. If we go back here, Saha ate an ice cream. She read a book. They are two sentences which make sense on their own. But here, if I said to you, it was his birthday, you might go, well, I need to have a bit more information than that. What does that mean? Why are you telling me that? Well, I'm telling you that because Yasser was excited because it was his birthday. We're going to keep learning a bit more about this. Okay, so subordinating conjunctions. Well, why do we use subordinating conjunctions? Why do we use subordinating clauses? Well, subordinating clauses adds more detail to the sentence. And can you remember the colourful semantics symbols that we used, which the subordinating clause gives us more, how it gives us more detail? What does it tell us? What detail does it give us? Can you remember what those three symbols were? Okay, some of you are shouting it out. Some of you know what those three symbols were. Let's have a look. There we go. So subordinating clause adds more detail, and the detail it adds for us is when, where, and why. The subordinating clause tells us when something happens, where it happens, or why it happens. It adds more detail to our sentence. And now some of you are going, that sounds like a fronted adverbial. That sounds like our fronted adverbials. Well, yes, it's very similar. And sometimes, actually, a fronted adverbial is a subordinate clause. Sometimes it is. So we know some of this already. So the subordinating clause tells us when, where, or why something happens. And the subordinating conjunction is the word that helps to join that subordinating clause with our main clause, our sentence. And it's still probably sounding very tricky, but that's okay because we're going to keep learning. Okay, so here are some of the most common subordinating conjunction words that we will come across. And they're all there, and they are, let's read them together, starting at if, which is in red. We've got if, my turn, if, your turn. My turn since, your turn. My turn as, your turn. My turn when, your turn. My turn although, your turn. My turn while, your turn. My turn after, your turn. My turn before, your turn. My turn until, your turn. My turn because, your turn. So they are all subordinating conjunctions. They are the words that help to join our subordinating clause with our main clause. Okay, now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, how can I ever remember all of those words? Well, there's a little trick. This is an acronym. And if we remember, I saw a wubub. That's a wubub there. See that little monster there? That's a wubub. Did you know that was a wubub? Or do you think maybe that's a bit made up? Well, it is made up. But if you remember I saw a wubub, that can help us to remember those words. And I'm going to show you how. Because the I is if. See that? If starts with an I. This is how we can remember. If we remember I saw a wubub, it can help us to remember some of the most common subordinating conjunctions. And our S is for. I wonder if anybody can remember what S is for. Call it out. S is for since. And what about our A? Well, there's three A's there, so there could be different ones. But the first A we have here is as a subordinating conjunction. And then we've got W. We've got two W's as well. So there's two different W words. This one we've got when. When is a subordinating conjunction. And we've got another A here. So another A word. Maybe one that you called out before. Although is a subordinating conjunction. And then our other W, so we've had when, so this one must be while. Fantastic. And another A, so what's this A? This time we've got after. These are all subordinating conjunctions. And now we've got a B, we've got two B's, so which one is this one going to be? Have a think of a B word that can you remember? Before is a subordinating conjunction. And we've got you. What does you? Can anybody remember? Call it out if you know. What subordinating conjunction starts with a U? We've got until. And here we go. Here's another B. We've already had before. So this is because. And this subordinating conjunction is something that we use a lot. We use this word a lot already when we are writing. Okay, so they are some subordinating conjunctions. Now, I wonder why we would use subordinating conjunctions in our writing. What is the purpose? Why, Miss Standring, are we learning about subordinating conjunctions? Has anybody picked up and listened and thought about what we know about writing already? Why might be using subordinating conjunctions be really useful in our writing? I want you to have a little think. Say your answer out loud and then write it down on your piece of paper or your home learning book. Why do we use subordinating conjunctions in our writing? Do that now. Press pause. Okay, let's have a look. So, a subordinating clause, a conjunction, it links the main clause with the subordinate clause together in a sentence. And it helps us to add extra information that tells us when, where, or why something happens. I think that's really important for us to remember, okay, because there's going to be lots of information in today's lesson, but what I want you to really remember is that a subordinating conjunction, it links the main clause with the subordinate clause, but it helps to give extra information, extra detail that tells us when, where, or why something happens. That is really important for us to remember. So what I want you to do is this. I want you on your piece of paper to write down when, where, and why. I want you to do that now. And then maybe put a little circle around it or a little bubble around it so it's really important information. Do that now. Write when, where, and why. Press pause. Okay, great. And that's fantastic. When we're back at school, I'm going to test you on that. So I really want you to remember that. It tells us when, where, or why. Okay, you've had a lot of information given to you. And now we're going to really have a look and identify subordinating conjunctions. And this is going to help us to really understand what they are. So I've got up the top here, you can see when, where, and why, because that's really important for us to remember. Okay, so here's a sentence. Let's read the sentence together. Varjak ventured into the garden because he was curious. Ventured is another word as to went. So let's read it again. Varjak ventured into the garden because he was curious. Okay, which is a subordinating conjunction in that sentence? I know you all know it. I want you to say the subordinating conjunction out loud and then write it down in front of you quickly now. Okay, and here's the answer. The answer is because. Varjak ventured into the garden because he was curious. Okay, right. We all know what we're doing. Let's have a look and see if we can identify the subordinating conjunction in this sentence. We're going to read this sentence together. Let's go. No one saw Varjak go out into the garden since they were all busy eating dinner. Okay, have you identified the subordinating conjunction? Say it out loud. Write it down quickly. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and since. Since is a subordinating conjunction in that sentence. No one saw Varjak go out into the garden, and here's some extra information. This tells you why. Why didn't anybody see Varjak go out into the garden? Because they were all busy eating dinner. That gives us more information. Okay, let's go. Can you identify the subordinating conjunction in this sentence? Let's read the sentence together. Although he was young and naive, Varjak had the courage of 7 lions. Okay, this is a bit tricky, this one. It's a bit trickier, isn't it? I know some of you have found it already and you haven't been tricked at all. Okay, say it out loud. Write it down quickly. Where's the subordinating conjunction there? Although, and it's tricky because, look, it's at the front of the sentence. So, although he was young and naive, Varjak had the courage of 7 lions. Okay, so Varjak had the courage of 7 lions, but even though he was young and naive. Okay, so let's have a look. That was a bit tricky. So we now know that subordinating conjunctions can sometimes actually come at the front of the sentence. That's good information for us to know. Can you identify the subordinating conjunction in the following sentence? Let's read the sentence together. Aldapor wanted to talk to Varjak before he escaped to the world outside. Have you found the subordinating conjunction there? Okay, some of you might even be able to write that down really quickly, and you might even know if it's giving us information that's when, where, or why. Okay, are you ready? Have you written down the subordinating conjunction in that sentence? Before. Okay, before is a subordinating conjunction. So, Aldapor wanted to talk to Varjak before he escaped to the world outside. Okay, great. Right, let's have a look and see. Here is another sentence. We're going to try and identify the subordinating conjunction here. Let's read this sentence together. Varjak's fur bushed out with fear as the cats stalked towards him. Okay, have you found the subordinating conjunction in that sentence? Have you written it down? Great. As is a subordinating conjunction in that sentence. Okay, so as the cats were stalking towards him, his fur bushed out with fear. But this sentence, see how you can actually write it differently as well, but it has exactly the same meaning. This sentence is written, Varjak's fur bushed out with fear as the cats stalked towards him. You could also have said, as the cats stalked towards him, Varjak's fur bushed out with fear. And then that would have been a fronted adverbial if we had it at the front of that sentence. Okay, lots of examples here. We've got another sentence, and I want you to try and identify the subordinating conjunction here. Let's read the sentence together. Varjak's heart thumped in his throat when he saw his grandfather disappear through the trees. Okay, so who's identified the subordinating conjunction? Say it out loud and quickly write it down. You should have it written down, and it is when. There is the subordinating conjunction. Varjak's heart thumped in his throat when he saw his father disappear through the trees. And once again, you could actually say, when he saw his father disappear through the trees, Varjak's heart thumped in his throat. You could actually change that sentence around, change the main clause and subordinating clause around. We'll talk a lot more about this when we come back to school. Okay, at the moment, I just want you to make sure that you are identifying the subordinating conjunction. Well done if you're getting them all right so far. Okay, another one. Let's read the sentence together. Varjak would have to be courageous if he were to make it to the top of the sheer wall. Have you found the subordinating conjunction in that sentence? Say it out loud, quickly, write it down. Varjak would have to be courageous if he were to make it to the top of the sheer wall. And there we go, it is if. And once again, we'll talk about this more at school, and we'll look at this more when we come back together. But you could also say, if he were to make it to the top of the sheer wall, Varjak would have to be courageous. But we're going to look more at that at school. At the moment, I'm really interested in whether you have identified that subordinating conjunction. Okay, another sentence for us, lots and lots of practice. Let's read the sentence together. Varjak kept on climbing until he had reached the top of the wall. Okay, can I hear it? What's the subordinating conjunction there? Quickly write it down. And the subordinating conjunction there is until. Varjak kept on climbing until he had reached the top of the wall. And we could say, until he had reached the top of the wall, Varjak kept on climbing. Okay, another sentence. Gosh, this is a long sentence. This is going to be a tricky one. This is a challenge to see whether you really can identify subordinating conjunctions. Well done if you find it in this sentence. Let's read it together. After Varjak heaved himself onto the top of the wall, he sat and looked at the outside for the first time. This is a challenge. Where is a subordinating conjunction here? Have you found it? Call it out. Then write it down on your piece of paper or home learning book. Do that now. Okay, so after, and there we go, we have the subordinating conjunction this time at the front of our sentence. And because it's at the front of our sentence, let's just read that part, shall we, together. So after Varjak heaved himself onto the top of the wall. Okay, so we also know that not only is that a subordinating clause that starts with the subordinating conjunction, but it's also a time-fronted adverbial, which we know about as well, because sometimes our subordinating clauses can also be fronted adverbials too. Okay, and we could also read this sentence. I told you this one was a challenge. We could also say, he sat and looked at the outside for the first time after he had heaved himself onto the top of the wall. So just with a little bit of changing there, we could actually write it that way too. But like I said before, we can have a look at this together when we're back at school. At the moment, I just want to know, did you identify the subordinating conjunction after? Well done if you did, because that was a real challenge. Okay, so now we're going to have another look at some of my sentences. And this time, I haven't showed you the subordinating conjunction. I've given you the choice of 3. And one of these subordinating conjunctions will complete the sentence correctly. The other 2 don't and would actually make it sound really silly. So let's see if we can do this first one together. and we can get it right. Okay, so let's have a look. The sentence is, Varjak was determined to climb the wall. It was sheer and vast. Okay, that means really steep and really long. So Varjak was determined to climb the wall. It was sheer and vast. So let's have a look at and go through the three subordinating conjunctions down the bottom. That we've got if, when, although. We're going to try all three, and let's see which one we think fits. Let's try if. Read it with me. Varjak was determined to climb the wall if it was sheer and vast. Okay, so if it was really sheer and vast, he would be determined. I'm not sure about that. Let's try when. Varjak, let's read it together. Do it with me. We're going to put when in there. Varjak was determined to climb the wall when it was sheer and vast. Doesn't sound quite right either. Let's try the last subordinating conjunction, although. Help me out. Read it with me. We're going to use although. Varjak was determined to climb the wall, although it was sheer and vast. And although means even though. So even though it was sheer and vast, even though it was steep and really tall, he was still determined to climb it. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense, yes. So Varjak was determined to climb the wall, although it was sheer and vast. Although is a subordinating conjunction there. Do you agree? Let's have a look and see. Although, yay, got that one right. Okay, we did that one together. This one I want you to do on your own. We'll read the sentence together. We'll read the three options of the coordinating conjunctions, but then you are going to work out which one is in the purple box. Okay, let's read the sentence together. Varjak couldn't see elder paw. The older cat was hidden in the tangle net of branches. Okay, let's have a look at the subordinating conjunctions we've got here. Read them with me. After, while, because. This is what I want you to do. You are going to work out which one goes in the purple box so that that sentence is complete. You must try all of the subordinating conjunctions. You must try all of them before you think about your answer. Okay, I want you to do that now. I want you to then say your answer out loud and just write down the subordinating conjunction which is correct. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so you're back. So let's have a look and see what the answer is. Let's do it together. Varjak couldn't see elder paw after the old cat was hidden. Varjak couldn't see elder paw while the old cat was... Varjak couldn't see elder paw because the older cat was hidden. And I think it should be because. Definitely because. Yay, well done if you put because. Okay, your turn to do this one. We'll read the sentence together, then we'll read the subordinating conjunctions, and you're going to pause and do it and work out what is the correct subordinating conjunction. Varjak thought he would be sick. He stayed on top of the wall any longer. The subordinating conjunctions are if, when, as. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, great. So let's have a look and see. Varjak thought he would be sick if he stayed on top of the wall any longer. And that does sound right. That really does make sense. But let's just try the other two subordinating conjunctions just to confirm. Varjak thought he would be sick when he stayed on top of the wall any longer. Does it make sense? Varjak thought he would be sick as he stayed on top of the wall any longer. That doesn't make sense. That absolutely means our first one is correct. If. Varjak thought he would be sick if he stayed on top of the wall any longer. Okay, which is the correct subordinating conjunction to complete this sentence? Varjak would need to reach the top of the towering wall. The gentleman's cat saw him. Varjak would need to... Okay, so here are your three subordinating conjunctions. Make sure you try all three. After, while, before. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so what did you put? Varjak would need to reach the top of the towering wall after the gentleman's cat saw him, while the gentleman's cat saw him, or before. When would he need to reach the top of the towering wall? After, while, or before the gentleman's cat saw him? I think before, and I am right. Otherwise, they might come and catch him. So he would need to reach the top of the towering wall before the gentleman's cats saw him. Well done if you got that right. Okay, so we're starting with a subordinating conjunction here. Okay, so what goes in that purple box? The cat stalked closer to Varjak. He could feel his heart thumping. Which of the subordinating conjunctions goes there? As, since, although. Try all three, say them out loud, and then write down the one that is correct. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so let's have a look. As the cat stalked closer to Varjak, he could feel his heart pumping. Since the cat stalked closer to Varjak, he could feel his heart pumping. Although the cat stalked closer to Varjak, he could feel his heart thumping. Well, I think it really needs to be the first one. As or since. This is a tricky one, isn't it? So is it as or since? Let's have a look and see. It's as. There we go. So as the cat stalked closer to Varjak, he could feel his heart thumping. And that is also a time-fronted adverbial. When could he feel his heart thumping? He could feel it as the cats were stalking closer to him. It could also be since the cat stalked closer to Varjak, he could feel his heart pumping, but not really. As is definitely the best subordinating conjunction to complete that sentence. Well done if you got that one right. That was even a bit tricky for me. Okay, so we've got another subordinating conjunction starting at the beginning of this sentence. And so let's have a look and see. Let's read the sentence together. He had heaved himself to the top of the wall. Varjak sat and looked at the city in front of him. Okay, so what is a subordinating conjunction that will complete that sentence? I want you to say your answer out loud and then write your answer down on your piece of paper. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so what are you going to put there in that purple box? What do you think it should be? While, after, or before? So while he had heaved himself to the top of the wall, or after he had heaved himself to the top of the wall, or before he had heaved himself to the top of the wall? Well, when did Varjak sit and look at the city in front of him? He did it after he had heaved himself to the top of the wall, of course. Well done if you got that one correct. Okay, so we've got another sentence here I want you to help complete. Let's read the sentence together. The elder Paul waited. The gentleman's cats were close by, then yelled, "Go!" So the elder Paul waited. The gentleman's cats were close by, then yelled, "Go!" Although, before, until, which is the correct subordinating conjunction to complete that sentence. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so when did the elder Paul yell, "Go"? So the elder Paul waited, although the gentleman's cats, that doesn't even make sense. The elder Paul waited before the gentleman's cats were close by? Or elder Paul waited until the gentleman's cats were close by? Is he going to wait until before or until? What do you think? I think he waited until they were close by to him and then he yelled, "Go." If you said before, that could have also been correct too, but I think here it was he waited until they were close by. Okay, we've got another one. Another one here, and I've already gone through and I've showed you that one. That one is while. So let's read that one together. While he was scaling the colossal wall, elder Paul's words echoed in his mind, "Go before it's too late." So I gave that one to you. Okay, we're going to change what we're doing now because you've heard lots of sentences that I have constructed. So now I want you to construct and compose your own sentences using subordinating conjunctions. I've got a list there of the subordinating conjunctions that you can use. That's going to help you. Remember, they can come at the beginning of your sentence, or in the middle of your beginning, or at the middle. Okay, so let's have a look here. I've got Varjak bent closer towards elder Paul because. Why did Varjak bend closer towards elder Paul? I want you to tell me why he did. Why might he have bent closer towards elder Paul? Well, let's have a look at this one together. Varjak bent closer towards elder Paul because he wanted to hear the older cat's secret. And that should be apostrophe S in cats there. I've just noticed my punctuation error. Varjak bent closer towards elder Paul because he wanted to hear the older cat's secret. Okay, that was my sentence for that picture. I want you to say a sentence and then write it down. It needs to have a subordinating conjunction so you can give more detail for your reader. Do that now. Right, you'll say your sentence out loud, then say your sentence out loud, then write it down. Do that now, press pause. Okay, great. Now it's your turn to think of a sentence for this picture. We have Varjak Paul, and he's reciting the 7 ways of Jalal. If you want to challenge yourself, you can press pause now and you can write the whole sentence by yourself. And for the rest of us, we're going to continue. I've got the starter of a sentence for you. Varjak's fur prickled when? When would Varjak's fur have prickled? I want you to write this sentence, the start of the sentence, and then finish the sentence for me, please. So, Varjak's fur prickled when? Do that now. Say your sentence out loud, then press pause. Then press play and continue once you've written it down. Do that now. Press pause. Okay. Varjak's fur prickled when his grandfather whispered to him the way of Jalal. That's what I wrote. I wonder what you wrote and said why Varjak's fur was prickling. Okay. Right, here we go. So here's the picture. Some of you may wish to just write down press pause now and write down your own sentence, which includes subordinating conjunction. Okay, and the rest of us, we are going to continue and have a look at my sentence starter. I've said, after elder Paul had finished reciting the skills, and what happened next? After elder Paul had finished reciting the skills, what did Varjak say? After elder Paul had finished reciting the skills, I want you to say that sentence starter, then complete it, please, with your main clause, and then write it down. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, so you have written your sentences. Here's what I wrote. I said, after elder Paul had finished reciting the skills, Varjak asked to hear them again. Okay, so we've got another practice here. Here is a picture of the gentleman's cats. Some of you may want to pause now. Okay, and the rest of us, we're going to have a look and see what I've written. I've said, as the gentleman's cats came towards Varjak and the elder Paul, what happened? As the gentleman's cats came towards Varjak and the elder Paul, can you write that down, that subordinate clause with your subordinating conjunction, write that down, then finish it off with the main clause. Say it out loud first, then write it down. Press pause. Okay, so as the gentleman's cats came towards Varjak and the elder Paul, the younger cat's heart pounded with fear. Okay. Gosh, we are working really, really hard, aren't we? We've got another picture here, so some of you may want to write your sentence on your own first. If you do, press pause. And the rest of us, we're going to have a look at what I have started off with. I've said, although the elder Paul thought the younger cat was brave and capable, how could we finish that off? What would make sense? What would help to make sense of that subordinate clause? Although the elder paw thought the younger cat was brave and capable. Okay, finish it off. Say your answer out loud, or say your sentence out loud, your main clause out loud. Then write it down on your piece of paper. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, and let's have a look and see what I put. I said, Varjak still did not believe in himself. So even though the elder paw thought the younger cat was brave and capable, Varjak still did not believe in himself. Okay, another sentence. We are working super hard, aren't we? Okay, let's write a sentence for this picture. I would like you to press pause now if you want to write your own. And the rest of us, we're going to have a look and let's see what I've started off with. See if it'll help you. So the plucky cat would have to be strong-minded if what? If what? The plucky cat would have to be strong-minded if. Okay, I want you to say that out loud. I want you to say that main clause out loud and then finish it off, please. Say it out loud first, then press pause. Do that now. I'm getting confused. Say your answer out loud and then write it down and then press play and continue the lesson. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, and here's what I wrote. I said the plucky cat would have to be strong-minded if he were to scale the vast wall. So if he was going to scale it and get to the top, he was going to have to be very strong-minded, very determined. Okay, we've got another sentence here. Okay, if you want to write your own sentence, you can do that now. Press pause. And the rest of us, here's what I said. I said the courageous cat would need to heave himself to the top of the wall before what? Before what? The courageous cat would need to heave himself to the top of the wall before. Okay, I want you to finish that off. Say it out loud. I don't need to write this one down. We've done so much writing already. I had no idea how many examples I put. That's a lot. So just this time, say it out loud. Okay, do that now. Press pause. Okay, and here's what I did. I said, before the gentleman's cats noticed he was gone, yes, he would have to get to the top of the wall before they saw him. Okay, and this is definitely our last one. So, those of you who want to press pause and write your own sentence, do that now. Press pause. And for the rest of us, here's what I wrote. While Varjak sat on the top of the wall, and I want you just to I just want you to say it. You don't need to write this one down. I've done a lot of writing already and we've got a little bit more writing to go. While Varjak sat on the top of the wall, what did he do? What did he do while he sat on the top of the wall? Say it out loud now. And then, so press pause and say it out loud. Okay, so what did he do while he was sitting at the top of the wall? While Varjak sat on the top of the wall, he thought to himself, outside, for the first time since Jalal. I wonder if anybody had something similar to me. Okay, great. Now, let's have a look and see how much we have learned from that rather long lesson. Which of these sentences has a subordinating conjunction? How do you know? Let's read the sentences together. Number 1. Although he was young and naive, Varjak's heart had the courage of 7 lions. Number 2. This plucky cat felt different to his brothers since he had yellow eyes and a thirst for adventure. And number 3. He had groomed black fur and yellow eyes. I want you to put a tick or a cross next to 1, 2, or 3. Tick if it has a subordinating conjunction, a cross if it doesn't. Do that now. Press pause. Okay, let's have a look. Number 1, although is a subordinating conjunction, so that one is correct. Number 2, since is a subordinating conjunction, so that one is correct. And number 3, there is no subordinating conjunction, so that one is incorrect. So you should have had tick, tick, cross. Okay, so have I correctly used subordinating conjunctions? Let's have a look. Number 1, because the moon shone bright, the garden was a dark and gloomy place. Because the moon shone bright, The garden was a dark and gloomy place. Number 2, oh, the courageous cat couldn't see the sky since the trees had grown together. The courageous cat couldn't see the sky since the trees had grown together. And number 3, Elder Paw led the cats away if Varjak began scaling the wall. Okay, so I have identified subordinating conjunctions, but are they the correct ones? Do they make sense in that sentence? I want you to put 1, 2, 3, and then tick or cross whether they're the correct ones. If you've put a cross, can you please correct it, fix it for me? Do that now, press pause. Okay, let's have a look and see. Because the moon shone bright, the garden was a dark and gloomy place. Well, that doesn't sound right. No, so let's have a look. It should be although. So even though the moon was shining bright, the garden was a dark and gloomy place, and that's because there were so many trees that were kind of trapping the moonlight out. Okay, number 2, the courageous cat couldn't see the sky since the trees had grown together. That one is absolutely correct. And that since could also be because, couldn't it? Because and since can be very interchangeable. Okay, and number 3, Elder Paw led the cats away if Varjak began scaling the wall, and that doesn't make sense at all. So that's definitely wrong. What would make sense there? Elder Paw led the cats away as Varjak began scaling the wall. So Elder Paw was doing it. It was leading the cats away, and at the same time, Varjak was climbing up the wall. Amazing if you did that correct. Okay, so now we're going to do our writing. We are going to write the beginning of our story. We are going to remember that at the beginning of the story, we introduce the characters and the setting. We describe them. We know that already, and we've done lots of work on that already at school. So this time, I want you to really try and focus on getting some subordinating conjunctions so you can add more detail to your writing. Okay, so remember, use description to introduce the characters and the setting, and you're going to need to build up to the problem. So we're going to be thinking about the beginning of that chapter when Varjak goes into the garden, and we're going to describe what that garden was like, and we're going to describe Varjak as a character, and he's out in the garden and he wants to go outside for the first time. It could be really helpful to reread chapters 4 and 5. It could be really helpful, particularly actually chapter 4, so that's when he first goes into the garden. Here is what I wrote. I'm going to leave this up for you in case you want to have some help with your writing. This should take you about 10 to 15 minutes, and you've done quite a lot of work already, so well done for keeping on going. You might want to have a little bit of a 5-minute break before you start your writing. Have some water, get yourself comfortable. There's my writing fit to help you. Okay, press pause, and then press play when you are ready, when you've finished your writing. Press pause now. Okay, amazing. Well done to everybody who has made it through. That was a really long lesson. There was lots of learning in that. We are going to look at that again at school when we are together, so we can really, really understand subordinating conjunctions, because subordinating conjunctions which connect a subordinate clause with the main clause is really a great strategy to really make our writing much more interesting and add much more detail for the reader. So it's really important, and we will revisit this again. So, well done. You have started to write your narrative. It's action-packed, it's exciting. It's based on Varjak Paw. And tomorrow we're going to continue. And tomorrow we're going to be doing direct speech and punctuating it correctly. So we really know that. So that's going to be really good fun to revisit what we've already learned at school. But until then, I want you to have a really good look out for subordinating conjunctions in your reading. I want you to really notice them, and I want you to really think about how they help to add detail to the sentence, and they tell us when, where, and why. So have a good look in your reading. Absolutely brilliant. You should be so proud of yourselves for doing the lesson today. It was a really long, and it was lots and lots of information for us, but we will do it again. And Great work. Well done, everyone. Have a brilliant rest of your day.